No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown for July 21st, 2023. Shout out to everybody out there watching this, whether it's live or on demand. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and spread the word. Tell a friend about the channel and NoDQ.com. Let's get right into this recap of SmackDown as we continue on the road to SummerSlam at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. I'll be at that show. Looking forward to it. We had footage shown from last week's show with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa. Then we actually opened up the show with a match, which is a rarity in WWE. We had our four-way match to determine who will face Santos Escobar next week, and the winner of that match will go on to challenge Austin Theory for the United States Championship. We had Rey Mysterio versus Cameron Grimes versus Sheamus versus LA Knight. Of course, LA Knight got this huge reaction. He got on the mic, cut a pre-match promo. You had Wes Lee and Dragon Lee, no relation. They were shown at ringside. WWE Smackdown this week was in Orlando, Florida, and WWE decided to have several NXT stars make cameo appearances at ringside. LA Knight got the early momentum, and then Rey Mysterio and Sheamus worked together for a while. They did dueling 10 beats to Grimy and Knight. Then Rey and Sheamus went at it for a while, every man for himself, of course. Grimes got in some offense, came off the top with a crossbody to both Rey and Sheamus, delivered some kicks to both of them. Then we had a Tower of Doom spot, all four guys in the corner, the guaranteed pop, as I like to call it, where you had a power bomb, a German suplex, and a superplex all at the same time. And then after the break, it continued to be a competitive match with all four guys. Sheamus almost beat LA Knight, and then Knight avoided the bro kick, tried to pin Sheamus with a burning hammer, but Rey Mysterio broke it up, and then Rey hit a double 619 to Sheamus and Grimes, but Austin Theory pulled Rey out of the ring, and threw him into the barricade. That's when Rey's buddy in the LWO, Santos Escobar, ran down, attacked Theory, sent Theory out of the ringside area, and then back in the ring, Rey Mysterio recovered and managed to score the pinfall victory over Cameron Grimes, which means LA Knight did not win this match. Now, on the No DQ review this past Tuesday, we talked about maybe LA Knight beating Theory, and I did bring up how, well, let's not jump the gun. LA Knight might not even win the four-way. And sure enough, he did not win. And it's been reported that WWE will push LA Knight, but they're waiting until after SummerSlam now. Which, I mean, you look at the SummerSlam card, and it's already loaded. They got like 9 matches for the show, but still, LA Knight and Theory should be on that card for the title. Just my opinion. Now, we do have the No DQ review coming up on Sunday night, back in our normal time slot at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you guys check that out. It will be this Sunday. I'm sure we'll be talking about the fallout from SmackDown and what might happen at SummerSlam. Now, TJS sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Tyler. He says, whose game is it? VKM's. Poor LA Knight, snubbed again. People can say whatever they want, but these feel like 85% Vince, 15% Triple H booked shows sucks. I mean, this really should be no surprise to anybody. WWE pushes who they want to push. They decide who they want to invest in. And over the years, it's been documented. Vince and company, they do not like when the fans dictate who goes over and who's getting pushed. We saw it with Zack Ryder. We saw it with Rusev, the whole Rusev Day situation. Daniel Bryan, they did not want him in the main event. And just week after week of fans hijacking the shows, they finally went with it. But it's happened so many times. Nobody should be surprised. WWE doesn't like to push guys that are not their chosen ones. It's just been well documented. Now, of course, you're going to have the people, and even Triple H saying, oh, well, you got to be patient. Wait and see what happens. Well, I have my saying, strike while the iron is hot. I say it all the time. And if you wait too long, same thing with Zack Ryder, where people will lose interest eventually. Dolph Ziggler is another example of a guy that had some momentum and it was never really capitalized on. Rusev Day, and the list goes on. These guys all cooled off eventually. We see it happen in AEW, like with Wardlow, somebody who was red hot, and the company just did not go with that guy because that wasn't their plan. Sometimes you have to call an audible and take a chance and go with what the crowd wants, but that's not how WWE does business. And in their defense, business is on fire. Like, we can only complain so much because at the end of the day, they're selling out arenas. WWE is highly profitable. And what we think, what I think, what everybody in the chat room thinks, I hate to say it, but it's all irrelevant in the end because WWE will do what they're going to do and they will be successful. But yeah, I cannot say I'm surprised. And as far as LA Knight getting this so-called push, I'll believe it when I see it. Anyways, Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar, Battle of the LWO members coming up at the SmackDown episode next week. Match was good, though. Solid match here. They got a good amount of time, I will say that. And we had some footage shown of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar setting up their match. Carmelo Hayes was at ringside along with Trick Williams. Then we had Charlotte Flair versus Iyo Sky. Bayley was out there, and there was an injury scare with her over the weekend, but she appears to be okay. She did walk down to ringside, no crutches or anything. She seemed to be walking fine. So that's good news that Bayley apparently is okay. She was out there on commentary, and Tiffany Stratton was at ringside. The NXT Women's Champion was watching the match. Another lengthy match here. The women got a good amount of time for this match. Iyo hit a missile drop kick, but then she got knocked to the outside of the ring. Bayley provided a distraction that helped Iyo regain the upper hand. Iyo started targeting the knee of Charlotte. Charlotte made her come back, and then Bayley once again got involved, started yelling at Charlotte. Iyo hit a sunset flip power bomb. Charlotte kicked out, and then all of a sudden, Shotzi appeared on the video, a video of Shotzi acting all crazy because of what happened with Bayley. Bayley was completely freaked out by this, so she left. Bayley was gone, and it was truly one-on-one. And I thought this was going to be the end of the match, but they kept going. Match went back and forth here. Charlotte avoided a moonsault by Iyo, went for her own moonsault, but Iyo got her legs up. and then Iyo put Charlotte in the crossface. Charlotte got out of the crossface and eventually picked up the win with the natural selection after they countered each other's pinfall attempts. Pretty solid match here with the ladies, and they definitely got a lot of time, which is a good thing because Iyo is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. I'm not thrilled with the Money in the Bank holder losing, but at least it was a highly competitive match rather than a squash match. So I'll give them that, but still, maybe they shouldn't have booked this. I mean, that's definitely up for debate. And yeah, match was good. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says, what's your opinion of the biggest example of WWE forced to push someone? I would say Mick Foley or Daniel Bryan. Somewhat different scenarios with Bryan. The fans were hijacking the shows. With Mick Foley, WWE had a very thin roster in 1996. And I think that's what helped Mick Foley get his foot in the door. The fact that WWE was losing to WCW and they had to think outside the box and start pushing people they might not normally push. Mick Foley definitely does not look the part of a WWE superstar from any era. I mean, maybe not so much now, but especially back in 96, you know, the guy did not have that physique that Vince loves. Vince has his guys. He always has picked the guys that he wanted to push, that he thought would make him the most money. And Mick Foley overcame the odds. Daniel Bryan overcame the odds. And I would say probably Mick Foley over Daniel Bryan, just because Foley really broke the mold. He was the first guy to truly do it. Up until that point, I don't know if there was anybody that reached as high of a level as Mick Foley that did not look the part in that era of WWE. So Mick Foley was truly, as I would say, a trailblazer and got to the top despite everything working against him, or almost everything. The guy could talk, and that was probably the best thing that he had going for him as far as getting his foot in the door. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, what if Iyo cashed in on Rhea Ripley instead? I suppose that would be okay, but I'd rather see somebody beat Rhea Ripley and be elevated rather than cashing it in and getting a cheap win. I'd prefer Iyo cashing in on somebody like Asuka, taking advantage, because Rhea Ripley has been booked so strongly. I don't really want to see her lose the title on a fluke, if you know what I mean. I want to see somebody decisively beat Rhea Ripley and get elevated from it. Walter Cruz sent in a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. The big baller, Walter Cruz, thank you, says, it's such a backwards business decision. You would think since they got themselves over, let's push them, capitalize on it, and sell merchandise. Instead, WWE just sticks to their shtick and push who they want. Walter, they're doing great business. Who are we to judge them? I mean, we're just people on the internet giving our thoughts on a scripted television show. Vince McMahon has been doing this for decades. Triple H has been doing this for decades now. Like, maybe they sense something about LA Knight that we're just not seeing. Sometimes with these creative people, they have their brain wired a certain way, and they have a way of doing things, and other people might not see their vision. But at the end of the day, their instinct works for them. And for Vince, it's worked for him. And Triple H is continuing the legacy. Triple H was under that learning tree of Vince McMahon. Remember, for all the stuff Triple H has done, he's been right there with Vince for all these years, watching what Vince does and studying what Vince does. So, you know, Triple H knows how to play the game, so to speak, because he knows NXT is something that will pop the diehard wrestling fans, and every now and then Triple H will throw a little bone out there so people are happy, the hardcore fans at least. But at the end of the day, they're trying to please their casual audience. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, my fear is LA Knight might become the next EC3. Oh, well, LA Knight's already way more over than EC3. The thing is, nobody really gave a shit about EC3 when he was in WWE, like at least not a large crowd. Like maybe some people on the internet cared, but when he was out there on television, it was death. With LA Knight, people are actually behind the guy despite him not getting that push. We had Asuka attacking Charlotte after the match, by the way, and it is a triple threat confirmed for SummerSlam. No surprise here. Asuka defending against both Charlotte and Bianca Belair. We had footage shown of dirty Dominic Mysterio winning the North American Championship. Dominic and Rhea Ripley were interviewed backstage, and then Butch interrupted, challenged Dominic for a match on SmackDown. Dominic was against this idea, but then Shawn Michaels, since SmackDown was in Orlando, Shawn Michaels was there, and he made the match official. North American Championship on SmackDown. So Raw's Dominic Mysterio defending the NXT North American Championship against SmackDown's Butch on SmackDown. Go figure. Great brand split, guys. We had Bayley and Iyo Sky backstage, and a picture of Bayley was attached to her luggage with a pair of scissors, and Bayley once again freaked out. Shotzi going crazy, playing the mind games on Bayley. We then had Austin Theory, who had gone backstage complaining to Adam Pearce about Santos Escobar. He wanted an impromptu match against Santos, and Pearce said, sure, U.S. title on the line. And Theory was like, no title. So Pearce said, all right, fine, non-title match, go out there, do your thing. And that led to Theory versus Santos in a non-title match. Good match here, but I'm a little uncertain what the point of this was. Santos has the match with Rey Mysterio next week. Winner gets the title match. Easy peasy. Like, why even book this match? So it was back and forth. It was a competitive match with these guys. All the matches on the show got a good amount of time this week. Each guy had some offense, and then Santos avoided the A-Town down. Both of them were on the top. Santos hit a Hurricane Rana off the top, then delivered a running knee, and then the Phantom Driver, 1, 2, 3, got the win over Austin Theory. So what happens next week? Like, if Rey Mysterio wins, what was the point of Santos winning unless you're going to do like a triple threat with these guys? See, I figured Santos would beat Rey next week to get the rub and become a credible challenger. Like, that would be enough, but why did you do this and have Theory lose again? Like, Theory is a guy that really doesn't need to be losing. Like, this guy needs to be protected in the booking. So I don't understand this, but maybe there's a reason for this, and they have a storyline plan for these guys. But I'm definitely confused as to why they booked this match. Maybe Rey wins next week and they do a triple threat. I don't know. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, seriously, what is WWE planning with Theory? I don't know, man, but I think that LA Knight should have been the one to end Theory's run. I know that they're trying to push the younger guys, which at the end of the day, you need to do. And they definitely want to cater to that Hispanic audience, and Santos Escobar winning the title would be good as far as drawing in those viewers. I get it. I get it from a business perspective, but like LA Knight, I keep saying it, strike the iron when it's hot. We had Bobby Lashley backstage. This was a very quick segment. Like, this was a blink and you missed it segment. Lashley was backstage this time. Last week he was with the Street Profits. This time he was with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Carmelo Hayes, the NXT World Champion. Lashley continuing to tease this idea that he's going to make a huge faction. I guess maybe he's on a recruiting mission right now, and nothing is quite official yet. We have the North American Championship up for grabs. Dirty Dominic Mysterio versus Butch. Rhea Ripley was there. She interfered. She handed a steel chain to Dominic, provided a distraction, but then Ridge Holland ran down and took the chain away. And after the commercial break, Pretty Deadly showed up. Now, Prince was injured from last week's match, injured by Ridge Holland. So Prince was wheeled down by Wilson in a wheelchair. Wilson took a cheap shot to Ridge. Wilson ran to the back, and then Prince, who was all by himself, got out of his chair and was chased off. And back in the ring, as the referee was distracted, Rhea Ripley took a cheap shot at Butch, and Dominic picked up the 1-2-3 victory, retains his North American Championship, which really should not be a surprise at all. I mean, he's not going to lose his first title defense. But I think Dominic did not need to be on this show. What they should have done was announced that this Monday on Raw, they would do this huge celebration for Dominic Mysterio. Like, I wanted to see Dominic come out there with pyro and balloons and confetti and them acting like it's the biggest world title win of all time. Just go completely over the top with the celebration. That's what I wanted to see. He doesn't need to be on SmackDown, but I guess they're trying to give SmackDown the Dominic rub because he's one of the most over acts in the company right now as far as being a heel goes. But still, like, let's try to make the brand split somewhat credible. That'd be nice. Anyways, we had our final segment of the evening, the one long talking segment of the evening. Like, this was a wrestling heavy show for once. It usually is not the case. Our final segment, Jey Uso and Roman Reigns going over the terms of combat for their match at SummerSlam. And it was basically like a contract signing, but it wasn't called a contract signing. They had the table, the red carpet. Roman Reigns had a contract, and he said that Jey is just a soldier, a pawn in the game. He signed the contract, but then Jey took the contract and ripped it up. He said they don't need a contract. He said it is going to be tribal combat at SummerSlam. Anything goes. They can use any weapons. Basically a no-holds-barred match, but they're calling it tribal combat. Reigns told Jey to shut his mouth. Reigns said it's not his first rodeo, and then he got up. He took the lei that he was wearing. I guess it was given to him by his father. He took off the lei, and he put it on the championship. He stood up. Jey stood up, and they did this embrace, like they grabbed each other and clenched hands together, and some kind of Samoan ritual thing they did here. And then Solo Sikoa knocked over the table. He went for the Samoan spike, but Reigns stopped it. And then Jey took advantage, hit the super kick to Solo Sikoa. Reigns left the ring, and Uso's music played as SmackDown went off the air. So another good segment here with these guys. Tribal Combat, basically a no holds barred match, and they're teasing the idea that not just the WWE Championship will be on the line, but also the title of the Tribal Chief, which to me pretty much confirms that Roman Reigns is not losing at SummerSlam. I would be very surprised, but we'll talk more about that in the coming days. I could change my mind. We'll see. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, Jey loses but causes a rift between Roman Reigns and Solo. Well, I think that's a likely scenario. Like, I think this is all going to eventually lead to Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. And we still got several more innings to go, as they've said. Like, they're probably like in the 5th or 6th inning right now. And there's still more to come, with maybe Jimmy trying to get a piece of Roman, and then ultimately Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns either later this year or early 2024. All in all, SmackDown was a good show. A couple of head-scratching moments, but all in all, an entertaining 2 hours. I would give the show a solid B. I actually think it was the weakest of the 3 shows this week. I would put Raw in second and Dynamite in first with blood and guts. So there you go. I apparently don't like AEW, but AEW wins this week. All 3 shows were very entertaining, though. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. Says, so Tribal Combat, anything like Mortal Kombat? I have no idea. I don't think that that's what they're going for. I think Tribal Combat just has something to do with the Samoan heritage and how they settle things. They fight it out like men, whatever they do. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a match where the Tribal Chief position is going to be on the line, and the winner gets to wear that lei and the championship. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I very much appreciate it. And again, share a link to this video if you can on social media. Hamp Connor with the $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. Says F- if Heyman doesn't yell finish him in the match. Well, maybe he will. Maybe Roman Reigns will tell Jey Uso to finish him. I mean, this definitely feels like a match where you're going to have all the outside interference. Solo Sikoa is going to get involved. Jimmy Uso will return and even the odds, but Roman Reigns will still pick up the win. We'll talk more about this. Remember, no DQ review coming up. Back on Sunday night, we'll be talking about the Bloodline, SummerSlam, and a whole lot more. Tune in, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.